Make new games. I don't want to buy remakes of old games. It's stupid. I already played your game once, 10, 12, 15 years ago. I already gave you 70 bucks, 50 bucks, 60 bucks for that game. I don't want to play a remake. I want to play new games. So I'm not a fan of the remake thing at all. Um, it's just not, mm-mm, not a fan. They don't get my money as a general rule. I did try the Final Fantasy remakes because I had fond memories of that game. The first Final Fantasy VII remake was kind of fun. The second one sucked. Like I spent 70 bucks on it and I never finished it because the mini games were just stupid. It was all about making your waifus as waifu as possible. You know, and those games are literally made for the basement dwellers who fap to characters in a video game. Um, you know, and as much as like they're working on a KOTOR remake video game, and it's like, I mean, no, I would rather have KOTOR 3. I would much rather have Knights of the Old Republic 3. Give the license to Larian, give it to Obsidian. I don't care who you give it to. Give me Knights of the Old Republic 3. I don't want KOTOR reimagined with different, like someone was saying the other day, oh, wouldn't it be so awesome if they reimagined the Mass Effect series and did a whole new remake of the original trilogy? And I'm like, no. The Legendary Edition just came out like 3-4 years ago. Actually, it's been longer than that. It's been like 4 years ago. But no, I want new. I want new ideas. Right, Deonora. New epic stories. So the rumor right now, I saw this morning, is like the next God of War is going to be set in Egypt. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. You could take the same character because he's immortal, right? And now we're moving him out of, we've moved him out of Greek mythology into Norse mythology, and now we're going to take him and move from Norse mythology into Egyptian mythology. That's awesome. Like, you're taking an existing character and giving him new adventures. In the Assassin's Creed series does a great job of that as well. We go to England, we go to Norway, we go to Egypt, we go to Greece, we go to New York City. Like, we do all these. We go to, now we're doing Japan. We've done colonial, we've done pirate. Like, I like that idea. Like, give us new. I don't want old remakes. I think it's lazy. A lot of times what it is a company will have an intellectual property that they are leasing. So the easiest example is to look at, and that's not necessarily true for video games because most of these companies are the owners of the IPs. But like, one of the reasons we always keep getting new Batmans, and I love all Batman movies, but one of the reasons we keep getting new Batmans with new actors is because in order for them to maintain their license to use the Batman character, they have to continually produce new content with that license. Otherwise, they're not actively using the license, and if they're not actively using the license, the rights go back to the original rights owner. So if you want to continue to maintain your hold on that license, you have to continually make new products around said license. So that's why we continually get new Batmans and new Spider-Mans, and because if the companies want to keep using those IPs, they have to actively make things. So I'm not a fan of remakes. I would much rather get new. Like, I want a new Icewind Dale. I want Icewind Dale 3. I want Knights of the Old Republic 3. I want Mass Effect 5. Give me Star Wars: The Old Republic 2. I would be happy with that. Give me World of Warcraft 2. EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2 was innovative. I mean, it may never have had like huge audience members, but right. And Jokeden has a good point. Like, sometimes when they do remakes, they don't even remake all the games. They remake like a specific one because that's the one that had all the sales. So like Silent Hill 2 got the remake rather than the first Silent Hill. Final Fantasy VII got a remake, but why not Final Fantasy IV? Why not Final Fantasy VI? Why not Final Fantasy IX? Like, I'm just not, not a fan of continually remaking things just so that we can continually capitalize on. And I especially hate it when the owners of like companies will come out and say, well, if you want us to make new stuff, you got to buy the remakes first because that's how we generate interest and money so that we can continue to make new things. And it's like, no, asshole, just make new shit. Like, if you make new stuff and it's good, we, the customers, will buy it and play it because it's fun. But yeah, this idea of continually producing old, rehashed stuff, I am not a fan of that at all. Sacred 1 and 2 were great, and 3 sucks. Xander says there are good reasons for originals to get mastered. PC might have issues running the original newer system. I mean, there's a case for that, but I would also argue that that's probably not true for the vast majority of things. And nostalgia only is applied. This goes into what 80 Storm just asked as well. What about younger players that never play the older games and will only play the remake? If you look at it that way, the reality is that let's say there's a million. That's even a bad argument. Let's say there's 100,000 players that played a game. You know, whatever game you want to insert in there. 100,000 players that played that game 20 years ago when it came out. How many of those players are willing to go back and play a remake? It's a small percentage. I don't know the actual numbers. I would need to go research those numbers. But I would bet that it's less than 10% of those players would actively go back and play a remake. It's the nostalgia players. Those are the ones who are like, oh yeah, that game was really, really awesome. I would happily play a remake. The other 90%, arbitrary number. Those people are like, maybe they moved on from gaming. Maybe their tastes changed over the years. Like, etc. They're not going to go back and play the remake. And then you're like, well, how many new players can you bring into this old franchise? That's the selling point of doing a remake. Not necessarily the nostalgia players, because those are a small percentage, but can you get new players to be interested in? But it needs to be a complete remake at that point, not just a, like, updated graphics. Like, it would need to be from the ground up. So, and then, yes, and then like Zeranthem says, there's the risk that you run. Like the Dungeon Siege argument. Like Dungeon Siege 1 and 2 were really, really good, but then when they went back and did 3, they completely changed and no one wanted to play it. So it's like, even if you do a remake, you have to make sure that if you want to get the old players back, it has to be the same gameplay mechanics as the old one. So the problem with doing remakes is that your audience is never going to be as big as it would be for a brand new IP. Thandar says, I'd argue for an Oblivion remake because I didn't get to play it when it came out because I wasn't old enough. I would love to see on a refreshed system. I mean, it's interesting, but at the same time, I, as a modern gamer, would much rather see Bethesda putting 350 employees into making Elder Scrolls 6 happen within my lifetime. Because, you know, to be fair, there are a lot of games that I've never played because they came out at a time when I wasn't able to play them or something, or I was too young or something, but at the same time, I can always go watch old playthroughs and be like, oh, that was kind of cool, you know? I have a different perspective than some players on remakes, though, because I'm just like, I would much rather people spend money on giving me new stuff. I just think that remakes are kind of a waste of time for the most part. But in the same case, one could argue that, look at World of Warcraft Classic and how popular World of Warcraft Classic is. It has just as many subscribers as retail, and has allowed Blizzard to essentially split their team into 2 parts and have one team working on retail and one team working on Classic. I mean, the World of Warcraft, not only World of Warcraft, but like EverQuest 2 and EverQuest 1 progression servers and Lord of the Rings Online progression servers, legendary servers. Like, there is an audience with certain audience. There's a certain audience within certain IPs, you know. So, but for me personally, I would much rather focus on, you know, I'm older. So I kind of have a different perspective on this because I'm 45 and I'm just like I only have a limited amount of time left on this earth, and I would much rather focus my personal time on like what's new, what's next, what's exciting. I've already seen Shepard's Journey in Mass Effect. I don't need to see Shepard's Journey again. I've already seen, you know, all these journeys done before with these other characters. Like I don't need to see that all unfold again. Um, but you know, I'm not everybody.
Sometimes it takes greater strength to spare an enemy than to kill him.
Imaunmail. Ustaupime ICJ in Alam is Frumadine Habans. Gamlin ist Franjan.
Don't get me wrong. If the KOTOR remake is any good, I will play the shit out of it when it happens. But I also have these memories associated with the first Knights of the Old Republic that are never going to go away. And it's like, I also don't go back and play that game anymore because it's just too dated and too old. And I'm just like, can't do it. And if they're going to do the remake, I don't want them to remake it blow by blow. I would love them to make, if they're going to do a KOTOR remake, I would love it to be a modern remake. Give me action combat. Give me Jedi Survivor style gameplay. You know, I don't want necessarily, you know, that, but I'm not everybody in that. Like, I know some people are like, no, we need the turn-based. We need all the same voice acting. We need all the same dialogue. Like,